Okay, I think we can start. It's 10:05. A very warm welcome to our web event on transparency in global supply chains. What role for digital technology? My name is Florian Lange and I'm responsible for the logistics and retail sector at Bitkom. And as such, I'm also in charge of all questions regarding due diligence. It is a quite special web meeting today, and I say this because of 2 points. The first one is the topic itself. We are speaking about one of the most relevant political and technological aspects and topics at the same time. We cannot avoid discussions on digital technologies when speaking about transparency in global supply. And since they will be one core answer for all political questions on due diligence, but also for business-related questions like how resilient are my supply chains in, for example, times of crisis. So it is an intense and also exciting topic for politics as well as for logistics and tech companies. The second point why we have a special web meeting today is that it is not a regular Bitkom call in our working group. Instead, we are very, very happy that this meeting is a joint initiative with Bernd Lange, MEP and INTA chair, who will moderate the discussion today and who had the idea of bringing experts together to discuss different digital solutions. And with these words and this very short introduction, I would like to hand over to the person with a very sympathetic last name to me, Bernd Lange.
Thanks a lot for this kind introduction. And I'm really happy that this meeting is really possible. Due to the corona pandemic, but even before, the question of global supply chain is now really in the center of trade policy. We had a lot of discussions just this week with the new trade commissioner inside the trade committee and with other stakeholders, how to make global supply chain more robust, more resilient, and more fair. Because this is, I think, one of the results of the situation after corona pandemic, that we have really to look into supply chain, how they are functioning, where the challenges are, where the risks are, and how we can establish a risk management system which gives a perspective to the future. And it's totally clear that the big majority inside the European Parliament is really sticking to global supply chain, not to decouple, not to reshuffle. And just yesterday we had a discussion about the situation as it is. So there is only really few of the products which are based on only one supplier or one country. We have really global value chains, global supply chains, which are covering a lot of countries, a lot of suppliers. So how to act? And one of the critical discussion we had is, of course, how we can get transparency into the global supply chain. Specifically, of course, also regarding possible legislation on due diligence for companies. This is, of course, linked to the question how we get really transparency in supply chain. And therefore, I'm really happy to discuss today about IT solutions, specifically, of course, blockchain solution for getting transparency in global supply chain. We had a report last legislative term in the committee about chances and even risk about from blockchain technology. And this was also one of the key elements that blockchain might be guaranteeing more transparency in supply chain and make it easy, much more easy for companies to demonstrate their resilience and their due diligence in supply chain. So this was my short introduction, why I'm really keen to have this meeting today. And we have 4 speakers. It's Christian Schulze-Wolters, Director Blockchain Solutions from IBM. We have Mark Schmidt, the CEO and founder of EverTracker. Then we have Birgit Davidian from Industry Executive Logistics from Microsoft, and Dr. Marcus Jostock, manager and founder from Axo. And I will give them now the floor for around about 5 to 7 minutes to give the input to the discussion. Mr. Christian Schulze-Wolters, please.
Yes, thank you very much and good morning, everyone. Let me share my screen. Just give me a second. That's the wrong one. That's sorry for this. No. All right, here. Sorry. Okay, here we go. All right, so thanks, Mr. Lange, for introducing. I would like to give you a very quick overview on what we are doing in addressing the global supply chain and the challenges that you have described, and also Florian did before. And I would like to do this with 2 very easy, quick examples. The first example is trade plans. That's a solution that we have built together with Maersk, the biggest carrier that we have in the world, focusing on sea freight. And the very first use case that we have been looking at was addressing the inefficiency in global trade. And it was the question, what's the effort to deliver an avocado from Mombasa in Kenya up to Rotterdam? So very easy use case, but it's obvious, as you can see, it's a very complex thing. So more than 30 actors means companies, more than 100 people, and more than 200 information exchanges needed to bring this product from A to B. And just then imagine all the other products that we are delivering around the world. This makes it even more obvious that there is a significant potential to improve information exchange, to reduce this enormous manual work, make it more efficient, reduce cost, reduce fraud potential, and so on. So there are a lot of challenges in the industry that we would like to address with this solution. And here's a very brief overview what Trade Plans is. As I said, it's a supply chain platform that we've built based on blockchain technology together with Maersk to drive innovation in the industry, to increase transparency, to build a new way of collaboration and communication within the entire ecosystem. And it's not only to increase transparency, to answer the question, where is my container? And as you might know, there are more than 120 million containers in the world in the sea freight business on its way. It's also the digitization of documents, because as I said before, it's a very high dependency on paper, and this causes a lot of time-consuming efforts and a lot of challenges in this aspect as well. So get away from this paper-based business up to digitized documents, and therefore we have built this solution about 4 years ago. The solution is live and in production since 2 years, and with this easy picture, it visualizes the entire supply chain quite easy. From the left, the BCO, the beneficiary cargo owner, who sends the product, the good, from Southeast Asia, South America, wherever in the world, up to Europe, America, with all the relevant parties included. And there are 2 different use cases we are looking at. The first is the shipping events, the shipment data. So to make transparent where is the container with about 120 different events. So means the container is at customs, the container is loaded, the container is empty, the container started the journey, and so on. So 120 events that describe the condition, the position, and the status of a container. And this data is delivered by all the participating companies in this ecosystem. And the second below is the digitization of the documents. And as you can see, there are many of these. There are about 20, 25, 30 different documents being used on paper-based communication today. The packing list, the bill of lading, the certificate of origin, the shipping instruction, all the customs clearance, and so on. And the intention of this solution is to digitize this entire paper business. And that's the current status of the solution as of today. Looking at the top left, we have about 15 of the big ocean carriers on the platform. We expect 2 of them to sign the contracts these days. And this would result in about 50 to 60% of the global container shipping volume being handled via this platform. And as you might remember, I mentioned 120 million containers. 50% means about 60 million of them being handled via this platform. On the landmark down there on the right-hand side with all these green and orange dots, you just get a flavor how many ports and terminals around the world are already joining. And you can see 140 ports are directly linked to this platform as of today, and about 600 ports and terminals around the world are delivering data. So it's a big, huge ecosystem, a very complex one, as we have just heard by Bernd Lange, a very complex scenario where all these companies are working in, driving the logistics around the world. And a key element is not only the sea freight, but as you can see on the left side, customs authorities, rail operators, the hinterland infrastructure, so trucks and roads, so everyone who is delivering value within this ecosystem. And at the top, you can see the current status in numbers. So more than 1.2 billion events have been tracked via this platform in the meantime within the past 2 years. We are currently publishing more than 100,000 documents, digitized documents via this platform, summing up to more than 9 million documents being already on the platform, and a significant number of containers have been processed via this solution. And as I said, governmental authorities are an important element in this business. So it's not only having the freight forwarders, the carriers, or the logistic companies on the platform. It's important to have the entire ecosystem, means governmental authorities, customs, accepting these digitized documents. Because it doesn't make any sense if you digitize something that the other one on the other side of the river doesn't accept. So especially customs is a vital, a crucial element in what we do. And that's the reason why I've just put some flags of some countries here. These are important, really important governmental authorities that are working with us, like Russia, like China, like Saudi Arabia, like Australia, in the meantime, the US with the Port of Houston, like Canada, to drive acceptance of digitized documents and to improve the efficiency in this very complex network around the world. So if you would like to have more information about this solution, there is some data on www.tradelens.com. And very quickly, in a 2-minute, there's another solution that I would like to share, because in the intro, there was also sustainability mentioned as another driver in this supply chain aspect. And there's another solution that we've built, and that's live since June, so just a quarter, 4 months. It's responsible sourcing blockchain network. And as you can see in the corner on the right, there are some big automotive companies that are building and joining the consortium for this platform, and it's addressing the product cobalt, a raw material, as cobalt is a very important element in producing batteries, lithium-ion batteries. And as we all know, there's a strong focus around the world on e-mobility. And having e-mobility, you need batteries. So for batteries, you need cobalt, and 2/3 of the entire cobalt is in Congo. And that's a very difficult environment because of working environment, because of child work, and all the rights and right violations in this industry. So we have built this solution addressing, again, the entire ecosystem, different roles. So starting with the miner in Congo, then the crude smelter, the refiners, the cathode manufacturers, the battery manufacturers, up to the OEMs. So the car manufacturers, as you have seen with Ford, VW, Volvo, and in the meantime also Fiat Chrysler. And we are also addressing the entire ecosystem that's part of this product, of this process around cobalt. But as some of you might know, it's not only cobalt. There is a new law coming into effect at the beginning of next year, been driven by the EU, driven by the OECD, and this results that all importers of tin, tantalum, tungsten, and gold out of these risk areas, like I have just said with cobalt in Congo, so the so-called conflict minerals are subject to binding due diligence obligations. And this solution that we have built, RSBN for cobalt, is just the first step to make the next one now with tin and the other elements to support the entire industry concerning sustainability and their supply chain challenges that they have. So very quickly, two solutions: trade lens on supply chain visibility and digitization of documents, and RSBN concerning work environments and child work and other challenges in this industry. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Schulz-Wolters. Very interesting and also really promising, because as you might know, I'm one of the creators of this conflict minerals legislation, regulation, and we really try to give the industry also some implementation time. So we have 3 years for finding proper solutions. And I know that there are, specifically for tantalum, some problems in monitoring the whole supply chain. So this RSBN might be a solution also for other minerals than for cobalt. Thanks a lot. And I give now the floor to Mark Schmidt and invite him to give his opening remarks.
Hi, thank you very much, Bernd, for the introduction, and thank you, the Bitkom, again for having me here today. I'm sharing now my screen, or my presentation. So you should be able to see it now. Perfect. So EverTracker, what EverTracker does is we are bringing end-to-end visibility on supply chains to manufacturers and producers mainly. So our customers are, we are focusing on production managers that are producing cars or food or clothes or anything that you can imagine. And what they're interested in is actually to know when their products are arriving. They're not necessarily interested in containers or trucks. They specifically want to know, I'm producing an engine in 2 months, a truck, and I need a car engine for that. And they want to know, will it arrive on time or will it be too late? We are mapping all the existing information along the global supply chain, and also adding the item level information. And with this, we are trying to solve 4 customer challenges. One is this lack of timely data. So still today, companies might have access to data, but they don't get the data actively. So they have to go and search for it. So if there's a problem in the supply chain, they usually don't know. Secondly, they have a lot of manual processes, so they have to verify invoices. That's where it starts, but they also have to go to the different websites from the different carriers, or pick up the phone and call the carriers or service providers in order to ask, where is my specific cargo? And before they know what cargo they are looking for, they need to actually know in what shipping the right engine or other product is. And they have to go to different websites. So they don't have only one access point to their supply chain. They have to go to Hapag-Lloyd, to Maersk, to Rhenus, to DHL, to FedEx in order to get their information. And the 4th challenge is that they not only have one single person that is delivering the goods from, let's say, Germany to Asia or to the US, usually there are 12, 14, 15 different parties involved. And each of them are not necessarily working together in terms of data or information sharing. So we are trying to solve this with offering 3 different perspectives on supply chain. One is a very historical perspective. It's a reporting, it's a smart reporting. Customers can use it for invoice verification. So we can basically tell them what specific routes, lanes, invoices should not be paid immediately, where there should be a discussion around this. Or which one are fine and can be just paid. We also look into the current status, which is for our customers the most important feature is the deviation detection, because as soon as something goes wrong, they need to be able to interact with their supply chain players. So if we see that the container is on the wrong vessel or is stuck in a harbor, we can notify our customer and they can immediately decide. Do I take action in order to get the products faster to my production, or can I replan and just produce my truck or something like this later on, because we can notify them about this 20 days before actually the production starts. And of course, predictive analytics to tell them exactly when products are arriving, and we can do this end to end on an item level from the start through any, how many steps you can imagine, to the final destination. By doing this, we worked on a very, we would say, sophisticated and simple solution that enables our customers to share only neutral data and not sensitive data. So what we need is an order or an item number, a status, so where is currently the product. This can be a scan, a location from a GPS device or from a truck, but we are also mapping all kinds of different information that are publicly available. And of course the timestamp. When has this product been seen in Rotterdam, or when has it been loaded on a vessel? We work with different partners in order to get the data from our customers. And there are some benefits, and I would like to take the chance and show you also what this then looks like. Wait a second. So basically what the customers then get, you should see my screen, this an example. So there's some sample data that we are allowed to use from customers. So basically what they're mainly interested in, what you see here are the different steps in the supply chain. It can be many, it can be much more, it can be less, depending on where we see the most critical parts in the supply chain. And we monitor it from the start to the end. So this is the starting point, this is the final destination. The starting point is currently not visible because we are not allowed to tell you where it actually starts, so that you don't know who is the customer. But basically these dots tell you, okay, this one is early, this one is late, this one should be monitored. Orange, green means everything is fine. Orange means there is something. If it's red, then you should take action. And just as a last possibility, because then I'm pretty much in the 7 minutes, this is that you can see we can actually follow a single product on a map, and we can map it to the vessel, to trucks, to anything, so that you can actually really see a product traveling on the map, getting the plan, the real, and the estimated time of arrival on the products when they will be in the final half. Thank you very much for your time. I'm pretty much in my 7 minutes, and I'm looking forward to questions and to the discussion later on. Thank you.
Mr. Lange, you're already muted.
Oh, thanks a lot, Mark, for this presentation. Also quite promising that we get really more transparency into supply chain. And now I give the floor to Birgit Davidian from Microsoft and invite her to give her presentation.
Hello, I'm very happy to be part of this very interesting meeting, and I would like to share my screen. Can you see this now?
Yes.
So not in the presentation mode. Here we go. So thanks a lot again. My name is Bernd, and I'm from Microsoft, which you're all familiar with. But we're not only one of the leading cloud technology providers, we also have our own supply chain, which we try to tackle very stringent with all the suppliers. We have 40,000, roughly 40,000 SKUs with 33 production facilities around the globe with lots of suppliers, and we are just establishing a very strict reporting, particularly to cut our own emissions. But today I want to highlight some of the technologies that can help you establish global, fair, transparent, and sustainable supply chains. So as supply chains are very complex and intransparent by now, we talked already about some of the solutions, and probably blockchain is the one that's most sophisticated, which brings a very strong accuracy and immutability to the end-to-end processes where it's used. Nevertheless, there are a lot of other building blocks that are very crucial to establish visibility. First of all, as also was mentioned, to ensure the visibility on the shipments, you need track and tracing technologies, which can be based on sensors, IoT technology, but also on OCRs, scanning of documents, freight documents, and also robotics process automation technologies to automate the document attachment basically to the physical processes. Then, of course, analytics and reporting are crucial to give you better insights. A lot of companies still don't have real-time insights in their supply chains. And also now with sophisticated analytical components, you can also do predictions based on the historical flow of goods to prevent situations like in Corona times where there are bottlenecks that were not visible before. Then the supply chain is so distributed that system integration is necessary. We often face old-fashioned legacy situations with EDI technologies, which can be replaced by modern API technologies that are much faster and more efficient. And then supplier collaboration often still is based on email and even fax. So this is all not adhering to the new standards we need for global transparency. And of course, it's necessary to use scalable and trusted foundations for all these new projects and products coming to the market. So that's why we think the cloud services of our company are very valid. We also the cloud vendor with the most security standards and certificates. And Microsoft has an approach that we don't deliver solutions ourselves most of the time, but we have a broad partner ecosystem of 40,000 companies that use our building blocks to create the solutions necessary. And that's why today I would like to highlight two of those solutions, particularly for supply chain transparency. The first solution I would like to talk about is EcoVadis. EcoVadis is basically a solution that's not blockchain based, but a more pragmatic approach on tackling the supplier collaboration on certifications. So, as being said, modern supply chains often involve thousands of suppliers worldwide, making it very difficult for the companies to identify and connect all parties to get the data they need, right? Plus, most of the supply chain data is shared via email, Excel spreadsheets, which is not agile enough to meet the growing regulatory demands. Additionally, each region has its own regulations and languages. Each industry has its own labels and certifications. So to enhance these processes and to enable the companies to monitor all the suppliers, it's necessary to change this process. Additionally, each supplier receives questionnaires now from their partners, and they all look different, they're redundant, different formats. And with EcoVadis, now there is a standardized solution which makes this more efficient. EcoVadis has spent over a decade on refining this assessment model, and it measures 21 sustainability criteria in 4 themes: environment, labor and human rights, ethics, and sustainable procurement. So as you see with the EcoVadis CSR scorecard, companies can measure and also demonstrate their own CSR performance towards their clients with maximum credibility. And we already have 65,000 companies in 160 countries using this platform. And as I said, the platform is a software as a service solution based on Azure components on Microsoft Cloud. And it has data analysis components and reporting tools, and also a web crawler to achieve more trust. So the reports and all the documents you give in as a supplier are verified by third parties. So within the 36-degree watching, external sources and stakeholders that have opinions on the assessed companies are also integrated. It can be NGOs, trade unions, international organizations, but also local authorities and auditors, and they are integrated with smart tools into this intelligence suite. As you see, a lot of well-known global brands also trust this assessment platform. And the other one I want to highlight today is Transparency One, which is also built on Microsoft Cloud. Also with our blockchain services. And the Transparency One solution enables more like business-to-business social network approach on how you assess your vendors. So first of all, you often don't know who are the vendors in your full supply chain because you have the contracts with the tier 1 suppliers. So this solution is basically like a network. Once you ask for product, facility, sustainability information at your tier 1 supplier, the request gets passed down into the platform to their suppliers as well. So that you can trace it down to the every raw material and individual product. Then all the data is verified also by another company that's an inspection and certification company that's tracing down the accuracy of the information. And with the real-time monitoring analytics capabilities, you're also able to analyze aggregated information on your supply chain data, on the safety, social responsibility, and sustainability KPIs that you find necessary also for your company. So we partnered with Transparency One to use our blockchain services plus the Ethereum protocol, which brings enhanced data protection, and it creates a permanent immutable record on all the supply chain interactions, so nothing can be changed. And next slide, you see some more of the technical capabilities. For instance, there's some geo-mapping also, where you can drill down on the different countries and suppliers you're working with. And also there's document management and process engine integrated in this technology. For instance, once a certificate expires, you get a notification, reminders that you have to assess your vendor again and again. Then in the reporting dashboards, you can drill down on the very item level or on different KPIs depending on the different vendors. And on the right-hand side, the product traceability really enables you to get on the PO level, on the SKU level of your product, and to specify also with the graph. You see it here as a visualization of the whole supply chain up to the tier 3 suppliers you work with. So this blockchain solution has been used by several predominantly retailers and consumer goods manufacturers to assess their supply chain. For instance, the French retailer INTA is using it to track over 3,000 suppliers. And yeah, some of the figures are, I think, quite interesting. The time for chasing data has been reduced by 30 to 50%, which is crucial to also get companies to adopt technologies like that. Yeah, in the end, this is, of course, for reducing the risk in your complete supply chain. So these were two solutions. Microsoft is collaborating with lots of enterprises also to develop similar things, but first and foremost, we are the basic technology provider, and we collaborate with lots of partners that make this real. Thanks for your attention. I think I'm on time.
Thanks a lot for this presentation. And now we heard three really promising presentations, different solutions for getting more transparency into the supply chain and more robust supply chain. But all these are based on big companies. And of course, we are really interested to hear a little bit more about small and medium-sized enterprises using blockchain. And I will now invite Dr. Markus Jostock to give a perspective on blockchain specifically for small and medium-sized enterprises, please.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and thanks for the opportunity to present. Yes, we are a small company, startup based in Germany. I think we all agree that transparency can only be achieved by digital processes. Paper is very patient and can be copied, and So why is it currently so difficult that transparency is not achieved? First point is complexity of supply chains. As you've seen in the previous examples, more than 20 companies are involved in processes, and particularly in the logistics business, you have subcontractors, subcontractors, which are engaged on the spot. And secondly, apart from the complexity of the process itself, it's the complexity of the IT system. So if you have so many companies involved, everybody's got a different IT systems, ERP, management, warehouse, manufacturing execution systems, databases, whatever. And there are no common standards or interfaces defined for all these companies. And obviously, most importantly, we have competing interests of business partners, you know, selling at high prices, buying at low prices, not disclosing IP. So what are companies' current options? Basically, there are two ways, three if you count an internal way. But first option is you have you establish bilateral connections between two companies, which is usually costly. You have a lengthy IT integration project, and you probably need to do that for every partner you want to integrate with. Apart from the fact that you're using the same ERP system, maybe with an EDI interface, you need to do a different IT integration project. So that makes it extremely costly, so people don't do it. There is no digital barrierless integration. Or the other option would be you push all the data on the same platform. Several partners agree that they provide data on a shared data platform. But the question is, who manages the data? What can you see? So even if you consider blockchain as one of these data platforms, it's not necessarily a good idea, or companies don't necessarily want it to push all the data on the blockchain, where people can deduce things like whom are you doing business with, how many batches and articles do you produce, and you know, what is your market share and all these things. So our approach as ArcSym is to reduce this complexity by providing a middleware that makes it very simple to interconnect existing IT systems based on a blockchain backend. Because what is interesting and often neglected about blockchain technology is apart from the security, it's like identity, I know whom I'm dealing with, and secondly, it's the interface. How is data going in and how is data going out is very well defined. So this is the only technical slide I will show. Basically what we're doing is that we have, you look at the left-hand side, you have corporate IT systems and data silos. We say, well, please keep the data in your data silos. There it is well guarded. It is already there. No need to copy it elsewhere. But we provide the connectivity, the connector to a blockchain. We are using a blockchain technology, but it could be anyone. We're in this respect, we are kind of blockchain agnostic. And on the blockchain, since it is so, it has the included rights management, you can, as a data owner, you decide who can see which event that happened, or who can access the data in my silo. And the point is that somebody else, maybe a customs authority or your supplier or your customer, who is needing a certain information that you already have as the owner of the data, can automatically pull this. And he's sending a request to the blockchain saying, please, can I have the quality information or provenance information or whatever data for a given batch or a certain delivery. I have a delivery number here. And this request is sent to the blockchain. So what you have on the blockchain nowadays is called a smart contract, which is nothing but an automation script, a program script, which is actually applying and enforcing the business rules that the data owner has set. And then the data is transferred through different channels. So the data is made available almost in real time at the point when you need it, pulled from the data silo. So this creates the transparency, although the owner of the data decides, okay, whom am I willing to share my data with, maybe how many data sets per week or per day, in which level of detail. And this is something very interesting that blockchain is possible, is enabling. And I'd like to show you two projects. One is in the recycling plastic industry. It's a customer called Greenback. The point is that there's an enormous level of fraud in the plastic sector. Particularly due to the COVID crisis, the price for petrol, crude oil dropped. So that immediately is linked to the price of virgin plastic. So new plastic is much cheaper now. And you're in big trouble getting enough recycling plastic. There's only a 1-digit percentage of the plastic worldwide which is recycled. And the problem is that people can simply sell you seemingly recycled plastic without any proof or just some fake fraudulent certificates. And this project is really interesting because at the recycling plant, material streams are scanned. We are putting not the footage itself, but the digital fingerprint of the footage on a blockchain. And at the end of the process, we create a blockchain-based certificate of the amount of plastic that has been recycled in a day or in a shift or by delivery. And this includes the complete chain of evidence going backwards, if you want, back to the original data, as long as there is, during the life cycle, the lifetime of this material. And so you can have mass balances, and at the end of the day, you cannot ever sell more recycling plastic out of your plant than you can prove that came into the plant, which is a very interesting concept. And this is one of the most sophisticated projects I've ever seen, with really a global perspective on providing digital certificates of provenance and treatment of material, starting at recycling plastic, which is certainly interesting for the plastic strategy and initiatives of the European Union. And the second project, and this is already the last one I'd like to show, is coming from the automotive industry, which is an important factor in Europe. And you might have heard of a concept called digital twin. So you have like data accompanying a physical product, and that could be any type of data, quality data, but it could also be what is actually the carbon footprint of a specific component. And the problem is that you can create a lot of, create electric vehicles, for instance, but what's the purpose of an electric vehicle if you have an enormous carbon footprint in creating this? And in this project, we're actually documenting the carbon footprint of a specific aluminum component in the manufacturing process. And there's a big difference if this company is buying aluminium from an aluminium plant in Iceland, where they use hydropower to melt down the aluminium, or you buy it somewhere else. And so the point here is that either you can provide really blockchain-based documentation of your carbon footprint in the digital twin, or if you don't, your customer will assume a worst case value, saying, okay, if you don't provide anything, then we assume you used brown coal, charcoal based electricity to melt it, to create the product, which is giving you a pretty bad carbon footprint. And this creates the pressure on transparency for the manufacturers to actually provide this data, even if they just pull it from their own production. And that creates the final carbon footprint of a complete component. And trust is really important. This is something in industry when where this type of technology, apart from the fact that you can simply, or it facilitates the exchange of information, it also creates a level of trust because you have a fully digital end-to-end audit trail of aspects, and only the aspects that you would actually like to disclose. And this is already the end of my presentation, and I'm very happy to join the discussion with all of you.
Yes, thanks a lot for this also a really promising presentation. Now we have just a few minutes left for question and answers, and I see no question in the chat at the moment, so I will raise now two from my side. One is on let's say the error side of blockchain technology. So one of the advantages, of course, is that if you have fixed data in the blockchain system, then you can't change it anymore, and the transparency is there. But of course, how is the, let's say, mistake management or the error management to have a secure feeling that the data put in the blockchain are the correct data? Perhaps you can give me some answers on that. Of course, this is also linked to the right to use this technology, to have the data rights. And secondly, I always heard that the energy consumption of blockchain technology is so dramatic that this will compensate a lot of the renewable energy production in Europe, and it is totally impossible to use it on a larger scale. So, any response? And I see now Mr. Jostock wants to answer some of the questions.
Yeah, just 2 notices on that. The energy consumption aspect is rooted to the proof of work concept, which is, if you think about it, which has been used or is used in the Bitcoin blockchain, it's very intelligent and on a philosophical level, very advanced. But obviously it's unsuitable for industrial processes. And by now you have like the 3rd generation of blockchain technology, which is not energy consumptious. Basically this at the same level as any other cloud technology. And so there's really that argument is basically gone in the new technologies. And secondly, concerning your first question, the interesting thing about the 3rd generation blockchain technologies is that they are much more interactive. So you can store data on the blockchain, and you can, whatever you send there is in the history. But let's assume you're sending some wrong data to the blockchain. Since it is transactional, you can always interact and say, okay, I'm sending you now a corrective of the data, and this corrective is documented. But it's not as if once it is there, you can never ever you're trapped. That is not the case. You can have different levels of access, different levels of authorities that are actually interacting, but what you always have is the complete audit trail.
Any further reactions to the question? Yeah, Mr. Schulze-Wolters.
Yeah, thank you very much. So concerning the energy consumption, it's nothing to add. So perfect answer from Marcus. It's exactly what he said. The other thing is, yes, blockchain in general does not solve the crap in, crap out problem. So the data quality that you were mentioning, the way we address it with the solutions that we build for our customers in the different industries is that we focus on Hyperledger Fabric. It's a private permissioned blockchain, and this, based on the experience that we have with many solutions, and I just mentioned TradeLens is already in production since about 2 years. This private permissioned blockchain scenario and the governance structure that we set up in these projects increases transparency even more, and then also trust. And increasing transparency means I will very quickly, participating in such a solution, I will very quickly see who has entered which data. I will very quickly recognize the quality of the data. I will very quickly see if the certificate being uploaded is valid or has been gone. So this transparency thing in the private and permission blockchain scenario, in my view, and based on the experience that we have since about 2-3 years with many projects, is delivering an additional value and at least addressing in a way, not 100% perfect, but addressing in a way this crap in, crap out.
Thanks a lot. So at the moment there are no questions from the chat, and of course we are running more or less out of time. So once again, thanks a lot for this interesting presentations, and I'm really a little bit thinking about putting the similar exercise to my committee, to the INTA committee, because the question of transparency in supply chain is really a crucial one, as I mentioned at the beginning, and it's just discussed several times. And to give really valid examples how to handle this challenge is, I think, quite vital also for the committee. So once again, now I have something in the chat. What the question is, what are the steps for a company to follow in order to realize the transparency in blockchain with the help of blockchain? Is there a standard manual? Is there a standard manual? Who want to answer?
Okay, I will try to give you on. Oh, no, the lady. Sorry, Birgit.
Birgit, yeah.
I think there is no standard manual, unfortunately. But first and foremost, of course, you have to begin with getting a reporting infrastructure with all your suppliers. So getting insights on which suppliers are covering what volumes, to manage also the risks and tier them down into several classes of suppliers as a company that's producing, sourcing. Right?
Thanks, and Christian, you want to come in as well?
Yeah, two quick answers on this. The first is looking at the solutions that I've just presented. These are solutions that have been built, and it's quite easy for any company to join. Also, Mittelstand, so the mid-sized companies, the KMUs, it's quite easy to get on board, to join. We are using APIs to make it easy and open as possible for every company to get on board and use the value of these solutions. The other is, yes, we have a kind of manual. We have developed the so-called blockchain value design method. Blockchain value design method. That's a kind of asset that we have built based on all the experience that we have built up in the past years building blockchain solutions. So this is something that we use. It's addressing the minimum viable ecosystem. It's addressing the governance structure. It's addressing the business models. So everything that's around a potential blockchain solution. So yes, we have a kind of manual, but we don't spread it because it's our asset, but we run through it with companies that are interested to build such a kind of solution.
Perfect. Thanks a lot again. Thanks a lot for spending your time. As I mentioned before, I will come back to you for the committee, and let's stay in contact. Thanks a lot, and bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.